afternoon, and thank you for those who have stayed. Normally people leave after I speak or during this, not before, so I feel a little bit of a fraud standing up here because our company wasn't actually set up to be a social impactful company. It just became one over time for reasons that I'm going to come on to, because it was a necessity to do what we do. So in the time that I've got, and I think we've got about 5 to 10 minutes, I just want to touch on 4 areas. Some of the trends that we're seeing in Africa. We are an African business. I want to touch on agriculture and processing, which is one part of our business. Natural forestry, which is the third part of our business. And then say a few words about what we're actually doing in the social impact space. So, what are we seeing in Africa? The continent is set to continue at unprecedented rates of growth. The reports are that in sub-Saharan Africa, the GDP per capita should be growing at 4.5% per annum for the next 5 years. When you contrast that with 1.4% in Western Europe, including the UK, it's quite spectacular growth. 7 of the world's top 10 fastest growing economies are in Africa. We're seeing increased political stability, sophistication, specifically around macroeconomic management, which has been largely absent for many, many years in the continent. And as I say, we're active in 3 sectors, in 3 countries. I'm just going to, over a short amount of time, so I'm just going to focus on the forestry and the agriculture today. Agriculture and processing. Initial focus in Tanzania. We have long lease agreements in place for over 530 hectares of land, and processing and drying unit capable of processing 20 tonnes of fruit and vegetables per day. All the capital expenditure has been paid for. We have no debt, and we have a very strong and experienced management team in place locally. Focus on that business on 2 main areas: high margin fresh produce for both domestic consumption and export, and high margin, high revenue dried fruit and vegetables, some of which we package under our own brand. To enable us to be competitive in that space, especially in the export market, we require 3 key certifications. We have 2 already certified, and we've just come to the end of the 3rd one, and we are hoping in the next 5 or 6 days to receive that final piece of certification around quality and safety. All those 3 things are vital to us, especially when we come to export to our key export markets in the Middle East and Southeast Asia, because large procurement departments in hotel chains, airlines, department stores require those things in place about traceability, quality, safety, health and safety. The location in Tanzania was specifically due to its proximity to a very large international airport and a port. So obviously for fresh produce, they have to be air freighted, dry produce by ships. And additionally, because of Tanzania's proximity to the equator, we grow all year round. So we can harvest every day and we sow every day. And in some cases, depending on the crop, we can get up to 4 crops per hectare per year. So we can offer single source, continuous all-round supply of high quality fresh produce. A few words on forestry. Interestingly, Africa accounts for 17% of global natural forest cover, but only 2% of production. Mozambique, where our forestry concessions are, 14 of them, has 50% natural forestry cover. We're one of the largest concession holders in northern Mozambique, over 300,000 hectares. So for those of you like me who spent most of my life in financial services, a hectare means nothing to me. If you basically put them all together, it's about 2/3 of the size of Dorset. That's going to be an idea. One of the concessions I visited some 8 weeks ago, the perimeter is 50 kilometres by 30 kilometres. So it gives you an idea of the scale. It's all natural forest. It's not plantation forestry. Every tree that we cut down, the canopy is cleared, the branches are cut off, fall to the ground, compost, fertilise the soil, and the seed pods grow new trees. So every tree we cut down, 2 new ones grow. So from a sustainability point of view, that's very, very important. We have very, very strict government set quotas on the type of wood we can cut. We have 9 species of wood across the concessions, and how much. They are very concerned about deforestation. They understand it's a very large natural resource, but it has to be sustainable. So, for example, in Zimbabwe, it's been one of the largest exporters of timber products in Africa. The forestry levels now are at such a point where they are, depending on who you listen to, will either take 50 years to recover, or maybe will never recover, even if forestry or deforestation was to stop today. Like most African countries, there's been a significant and increasing rural-urban shift. People are moving from the countryside into towns. They need housing. There's a very large local market for timber products, windows, door frames, decking, planks. Last year, we made 300,000 railway signals. Recently, in the last week or so, we've announced that we intend to spin out forestry into a separate business. It will be a listed vehicle. Existing shareholders will be receiving dividends in specie. The reason we're doing that is that you heard some comments earlier about, I think it was called valuation arbitrage, which our economy is called mispriced assets. Our forestry asset, on a heavily discounted cash flow basis, has been independently valued at over £100 million. The market capitalisation of the group, of which forestry is just one component of it, as of this morning was £20.1 million. So the reason for separating those two is to allow investors who are specialist forestry investors to come on board to invest and be able to partner with us. A few words on social impact, otherwise Thomas Murphy might be back again. In the rural areas that we, in the countries that we operate, there's a massive skills shortage. Typically, we're one of the first companies to operate in those areas. Typically, they are subsistence economies. There is no industry, there are no jobs, there is no work, there is no education. So, if we want to build a business there, we have to educate people. But we have to build schools as well, there's no schools. So we build schools, we provide teaching, we educate people, we give people transferable vocational skills, teach them how to drive tractors, cut down wood, operate machinery. All of those are transferable skills, and it works very, very well in the community. The communities in place get to benefit significantly from it. We can solve often with the communities we work. If we don't work tightly with the communities, the whole thing doesn't work. They need to see the benefit of being there. We want to understand what's important to them, what their priorities are, how we can deliver. Just building a school, just drilling a borehole, providing fresh water for the first time ever. It is giving them transferable skills. And we are very, very conscious of the fact that we're a guest in those countries. This is not about colonialism in another guise. We're a guest in those countries. We employ very, very few expats. I think we've got probably 3 in the entire company. We want to develop businesses in those communities that work with the communities, and the community gets benefit from doing it. In turn for that, we get very loyal staff. People who want to work with us, people who help us, and it's a business model that works very well. But we're a guest, and you can't ever lose sight of that. So, that's what we do, that's where we do it, and this is how we do it. Next, because I'm very conscious of the time, what we'd like to do, like all the other ones, we're upstairs, we have some very colourful presentations we would like you to take away to save us taking them away. We'd like to speak to you. We're very interested in talking to new investors all the time. Alternatively, I'm sure there's a number of brokers in the room who want to see hybrid at the back, at least one. I'm sure they're happy to take a little for us up. So thank you for your time, and I'm happy to take any questions.